Hello everyone. Today I finally found the mind space to tell you what has been happening in the last month since we left home. We're in the lovely Ulaanbaatar, and as you can see, the city is pretty big and it's very smoggy. I'll give you a quick recap of what has been happening. As you know, Dennis wasn't doing too well when we left home. He had something with his feet, and unfortunately, that gave us many more complications than we hoped for. First of all, George and Joanna and me had to carry most of his stuff all the time, which was a small burden compared to what came after the first couple of days. Basically, when we flew to Russia, he stayed in bed with his feet up for a couple of days, the first 3 days. Then we took the Trans-Mongolian, and in the train he had the time to rest, luckily. But next to his feet, suddenly his hand also started causing problems. His joints were inflamed and his fingers started blowing up. It really became like this watermelon, and we had to find a way of cutting off his wedding ring. Yes, we had to cut off his wedding ring. So officially we're not married anymore, as nobody can tell he has a wife. It was very funny how that actually happened. It was a completely MacGyver because we were on the train for 3 days and we didn't have any tools or anything like that. So luckily the guy next to us was an engineer who saw that Dennis was actually in a lot of pain because of the problem in his hand, and he offered to help. So he basically cut it off for him. In the train, we met Viera, this lovely, super hyperactive Russian lady who was like basically an angel sent from above, because she offered us to stay in her place, which we did for about 2 weeks. Our initial plan was actually never to stay that long in Irkutsk. It was just to stay 1 or 2 days and then continue traveling and see Lake Baikal. But as Dennis was doing worse and worse, and by that time he really couldn't walk, we decided to stay in Irkutsk with Viera as long as was necessary to fix Dennis up. And in Russia nobody speaks English, so we were lucky to have Viera to be able to translate for us. So right the next day after we got off the train, she came with us to a couple of hospitals, which was a whole adventure in itself. The first hospital told us they couldn't help Dennis because he was a foreigner. At the second hospital, when walking in, I was actually already afraid that he would come out more ill than he went in, because it was really disgusting. And the funny part of it was that they sent us from one building to the next, and then this doctor came out with a wheelchair and he wanted to show us where we needed to go. And he knew that Dennis had problems walking, but he basically just walked in front of us with the wheelchair, nobody in it, and Dennis kind of trying to, well, catch up, wobbling behind him. It was kind of an interesting situation. When he did finally manage to speak to a doctor, the doctor looked at him and basically said straight away that he either drank too much wine or ate too much spinach, which was kind of a hilarious situation in itself, because I mean, here is Dennis who can't walk, hearing that he drinks too much while he never drinks, or that he eats too much spinach just because he's a vegetarian. So obviously we left and continued looking for another doctor. We found, we thought, an English-speaking clinic online. When we came there, nobody spoke English. So the only way of communicating with them when Viera was at work or when she couldn't accompany us was via Google Translate, which was very problematic in itself, because we noticed in the end that Google Translate wasn't actually translating the sentences from the doctor in the proper way. So we thought we had to answer a certain way, but then that just, well, in the end, we had the feeling that it led to a wrong diagnosis, which took us about 10 days to figure out, because that doctor, the last doctor we saw, sent us for multiple tests and stuff like that, but it was no help at all. And Dennis was just in a lot of pain, at home all the time with his feet up. And to be honest, we just didn't really do that much, except for this tiny little trip in which we went to a nearby town to get a view of the lake. And not miss out on that. However, since coming to Mongolia, it has been much better. His feet are doing much better. We've been going to a new hospital here, or to seeing a new doctor here, and they've run more tests. And actually today we heard that he doesn't have any permanent damage to his joints, and that probably if he takes a bit more rest, in a couple of weeks he should be completely fine, which is showing, to be honest, because for the past couple of days he's finally been outside for more than just going to a hospital or seeing a doctor, which is greatly improving both of our emotional states of mind, I would say. I'll try to be a bit more consistent from now on. I've been working on the website a lot. And anyways, today we've rented a couple of bicycles. And as I said, we're enjoying being outside finally and doing some touristy things.